Today, I talked to a client who recently picked up one of my books, and the book in question is called The Action Formula. And after reading the Action Formula, he said everything made suddenly a lot more sense. Like why he is not, doing things, why he is, wants to do things but not taking action on these things, right? And so I was like, yeah, I mean, the book is perfect for that, kind of troubleshooting. Why? Because I wrote it exactly for that purpose. And I'm a big fan of that book. The book is like, it's not the New York Times bestseller or anything, but like for a relatively short, very thin book, it did very well on Amazon, and the reviews are good. So, I mean, not that that's the stuff that matters, but I like that book. But it's been a while since I actually talked about the actual formula. I wanted to spend a little bit of time to talk about the actual formula. So, just because it's the same, it's called an action, right? It's not all action is the same. So, for example, there are people who really enjoy like cleaning, right? There are people who really kind of use it as kind of a, it's so relaxing to just like, vacuum down the house, and then everything is so spotless. And there are people who genuinely enjoy that, and change their furniture, spruce things up in the house every once in a while. There's people who like doing that thing, and they would do it even when no one is asking them to do it, right? But on the other hand, you have people who really are not fond of cleaning. It's like a chore. It's like someone keeps asking you to do it, and even when they ask you to do it, you don't really want to do it, so it keeps on being procrastinated upon. And then, yeah, sometimes you will do it, but your heart is just not in it, right? Okay, so comparing these two cases, right? Which person will have a better time cleaning? And I mean better time in terms of after they're done cleaning, right? One person is like gonna be like, oh man, that fucking sucked. I never want to do that again. Versus, they're not even aware that they did this whole cleaning ordeal. Why? Because it's so natural, right? So, the naturally doing things, I think, is kind of like you forget that you're even doing it. The idea of you doing something doesn't even exist in your mind, and yet you're doing it. That, I think, is the ideal for action. Effortless. Just streams out of you. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have things we begrudgingly do. We have things we don't do and then feel really, indifferent about it. We don't do it, but we don't really care. And on the extreme end, you have things that you don't do, but you feel so horrible about it. And you're like, why am I not doing it? Right? So, we have this spectrum, right, of action. And on the high end, effortless, and on the very low end, very negative end, you have things you don't do and you feel horrible about it. So, what contributes to this value, right? So suppose the maximum range is 100 to negative 100. Okay, so what determines the action quotient? If your action was like a numerical value, what determines if it's going to be 100? What determines if it's going to be 90? What determins if it's going to be 50? What determins if it's going to be negative 10? What determins if it's going to be negative 100, right? So you have these things. You have this range of values. What makes it work? What makes action high? And that is what the action formula is saying, right? So the action formula is fairly simple. Action equals desire with the exponent of hype or excitement divided by perfectionism minus unwillingness and guilt. Unwillingness multiplied by guilt. So, let's speak concretely about this. the action value is desire. Your actual simple desire about something. So for example, I like surfing, right? So there is a desire for me to surf. Now, when it comes to paragliding or bungee jumping, I don't really have a desire to do those. So, desire is the starting point, right? And with that, hype. Hype, you notice, is an exponent. So, perfectionism is a divisor, right? It divides. And unwillingness and guilt, they're multiplying again with each other, but at the end they get subtracted, right? So if you apply math to it, you get to see that nothing beats an exponential growth, right? In here at least. Multiplication, right? Multiplication can never beat exponential growth. Dividing cannot beat exponential growth. If you have exponential growth and you divide by something, it's still an exponential growth. That's why it's so powerful, right? So you can have the desire to do something, but you might not be all that excited about it. So for example, tomorrow I can take the 405 to work, or I can take the 101 to work. Which one should I take? I don't know. But I want to go to work, but I'm not really excited about any of those, right? So like the desire to go to work is there because I don't want to get fired, but the hype factor is missing. Whereas surfing, not only do I want to do it, I really, really want to do it because I really, really like to surf. Now, the hype is a big amplification factor. And then you have the perfectionism, right? So, but I want to surf well. So when you want to do things well, it eats away at the desire. Because why? It accrues stress. I want to fry an egg. Okay, cool. Fried egg with over rice. Pretty good for any Asian person, right? But I want to make an immaculate egg. Where it's perfectly round and it's perfectly, over easy. And when I put it on top of the plate, it has to be so careful, right? So, again, after making the egg, which one will make me more tired? It's the one that I'm trying to do well, right? So, perfectionism, it doesn't kill desire, but it dramatically reduces it because it is dividing, right? So that's the desire portion. But then on the other hand, you have two things that subtract against it, right? And one is unwillingness. So for example, I like surfing. I want to go surf. I'm really excited about surfing. I don't even want to surf well. I just want to hang out at the beach because I love being at the beach. I love floating around in the ocean with just myself and my surfboard. But I have to drive and I have to tie down the surfboard, and that's kind of a chore. I need to walk my dogs and then prepare the water and the food if I'm gonna feed some homeless people, and there's after that I need to clean out the sand. I need to take a shower, and then so these are things that are just kind of inconvenient, and because of that I don't want to do it, right? Like these are things that eat away at my desire. And if it's surfing, I have trivial things that don't, I wish I lived closer to the beach, right? I wish the water, I wish the shower had the temperature control, right? And it was a more of a press on, and then I wish the water would come longer, and I wish the water, blah blah blah. I have all these desires, but they're not satisfied, so therefore unwillingness. And taking another example, I want to do the chores, and I feel like everything's so dirty, and there's dust balls forming, so I do need to vacuum the house, but vacuuming is very tedious and I don't want to do it. So that's the unwillingness part. And now that gets multiplied by guilt and shame. Why am I like this? Why do I suck so much at cleaning? Why am I living in a pigsty? Why am I not taking responsibility of my life? man. And that just greatly multiplies the unwillingness, right? So when the desire portion, when the first half of the equation is bigger than this one, then you have at least some kind of a positive action. You're likely going to be doing something. And if it's significantly bigger, then your action will be like basically streaming out of your mind. But if it's the other way around, and this is smaller than this, you're likely going to be in the negative portion. And if it's significantly small, then it's a double negative, right? So, how do we get to doing things? We have to understand, most of the times, if you're procrastinating on something, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it, and yet you want to do it really well. And you're not excited about the prospect of it at all. That is what, that, in a nutshell, that's why you procrastinate. That's it. So, you don't really have to touch the other parts. It's okay if you want to do a good job, but like, without excitement, without you actually wanting to do it from your heart, nothing's gonna happen. Because nothing is enticing you to move on. You would much rather think and ruminate. So, if you want to get things done, you gotta shift your heart into wanting to doing things. And that means being excited about the prospect of doing this thing that is important to you. So, hope this helps. And you can get my book from Amazon or my website. You can search for The Action Formula by Billy Hull. And let me know if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to talk more about procrastination and all of its interesting aspects. See you in the next video.